Okay, we're so close. We've done all the work. We're sending the levels. Our buttons are reacting properly. Now we've got to actually send it to the device. We are going to drop out of emulation mode, and we're going to add a connection to our TCP device. This is a new section that we haven't touched before. First thing you're going to have to do is go back to your design and look at the block controller for this section. At the bottom, there's a whole category called connections. Connections are very important. Connections, between you and the device. Connections between you and your estranged son that you haven't seen for 6 years because he's been mysteriously hiding under your desk.
We've made a connection.
No. Have you made a better dancing connection with him than me?
Yeah, he's my son now.
No, you can't just steal him.
Yes, I did.
You're going back in your hole at the end of this. Get my eyes on you. The connection that we're going to make is one with the TCP connection. So I'm going to hit this plus button. I got a new connection. Let's name this connection something better than connection 1. I'm going to call this device lights, something like that. I know that that is the lighting controller. You can choose for this to be a TCP connection or a UDP connection. The difference between those two, if you're not familiar, TCP has sort of like handshaking going back and forth where the receiving device confirms that it received the commands, whereas UDP is just a unidirectional send where the receiving device hopefully gets it, and you kind of got to trust it. We can do a serial connection where you can do an actual serial port from the device. We're just going to do TCP here. And we do need to input the IP address and the port for our connection, which we are getting from our API right there. But the act of doing that has already made the Lua written under the hood. That is the best part of the block controller right there. I know it didn't look like much. We just hit the plus button. But the amount of coding that you would need to add into a text controller to facilitate a TCP connection is significant. You got to add a whole bunch of code to start the port, and initialize the connection and do all kinds of things. Block controller handles that for you. Just hitting that button writes all the code under the hood. Love it. Let's jump back into emulation mode. Let's set the proper protocols here. So our IP address is going to be 127.0.0.1. The ports, as we can see up here, is 5103. I've got an OK status on that. That looks great. Let's swap over to the emulator so we can see that in just a bit. We now have to write the code for it. This sounds like it should be the longest part. Now we've got to write code. We've got to communicate with the TCP device. Oh, is there still a half an hour left on this video? No, there's probably like 60 seconds left on the video if you look down right now. We're going to do this so quickly, so easily. Go to this section called Connections. There's a new branch called your device for lights. These are all the blocks that you could do associated with this connection. There's various event handlers based on something that could happen when the lights first connect or when it disconnects. You can do all these kinds of things. But all we care about right now for the purposes of this section is we're going to send a message. That's this block right here. Connection, device lights, write. We're going to write something to that TCP device. Grab this, and we are just going to put it in our function that sends the level to the device right here. And what is it going to write? It's going to write the string to send. We plug that in right there, and we are done. That was it. That was the easy part. It ended up being the easy part. All we're doing is literally sending the data that we already gathered. Let's see if it worked. I'm going to shrink this up. We'll make sure we can still see our debug window. And we are going to turn the lights to medium. Look at that. The lights turn on. Turn it all the way up. The lights all the way on. Turn them off. They fade all the way down. Can I do it with my fader? Absolutely. I get all this granulated light control from the fader as well. All of this real time, well, not super real time, but feedback in our debug window about it. We're not getting the real feedback from the device yet. We're going to do that later. But for now, it sends. All of the presets work. This is glorious. Our lighting control is complete. Sound good? Love it.
Look what I am! Look what I'm doing! I'm a better dad than you!
Well, I hope you're having fun. I am going to sign off on this video. In the next section, we are going to do video routing for our displays. Hi, how are you doing? Take a quick break. I'll be right back. Let's get out of here. Come, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Where'd you go?